My name is Maria Jones. I'm the high school librarian at Corner Canyon High School in Canyon School District, just in the south end of Salt Lake County. And I need to get something off my chest. Not my shirt, although it is on my shirt. We're keeping the clothes on. But I judge books by their covers. To be honest, I'm not the only one that does it. Your students do it, my students do it. Most people judge books by their covers. Gone are the days of those leather-bound tomes with simple gold lettering for titles, and now they've been updated to fancy designs. The gold foil is still there, but now it's way more intricate and elaborate than it was before. But it's a lot easier now with book covers to distinguish a horror from a fantasy, a nonfiction from a contemporary, horror from historical fiction. You kind of get the idea of how you can kind of judge a book by the cover for the genre. So cover design is really important for the publishers and the authors. We had a local author come to our book club a year or two ago. It was Trisha Levenseller. She lives here in Utah. And she told us about her second book of the Blade of Secrets duology called Master of Iron. And it was really interesting because the first book, Blade of Secrets, has a blade or a sword and fire because it's about a blacksmith. The second book continued the story of the same blacksmith, but it had water on the cover. And her book hadn't been released yet, and she said, I don't know why there's water on the cover. There's nothing about water in my book. But her publisher said that books with water on the cover were trending. So it's interesting to note that book covers don't always reflect the content inside the book, but partly the culture of the readers and what they are buying. So it's more of a distinction of the market than the actual book. So we also have, in addition to the fancy covers, we also have end papers, sprayed edges, and maps, oh my. So there's a lot of things that make a book visually pleasing and pretty on the shelves. So the human brain processes visuals 60,000 times faster than text. Can you imagine driving 75 down the freeway and you see what's on the right? No one would know what's happening. So instead, we use these graphics on the left to process information faster and to do that in any language, like rocks falling off a cliff. All languages get it. There's a lot of books that I've read in my life as a librarian, and if someone's asked me, hey, have you read that book? I think so, maybe, possibly. What's it look like? And I see a cover, and as soon as I see the cover, I know immediately, oh, I've read that. Oh, that's on my TBR. Oh, that's on that bookshelf. Oh, yeah, I've seen that before, but I haven't read it. What's it about? Talk to me about it. So book covers are definitely conversation starters and clues, visual clues, to help spark your memory. Inspired by the Don't Shush Me blog, she integrated dynamic shelving into her library, and that focuses on book covers. And so on the left, you can see when I came back from the summer, all of our books were tidy and put away, and that's kind of what the library looks like most of the time before I integrated dynamic shelving. And then on the right, you can see that we use these gorgeous book covers to put them on display. We try to highlight series, as you can see on the bottom right with Michael Vey, which is half missing because it's checked out. And then we also try to draw out books besides the typical like Hunger Games, Scythe, Michael Vey, the typical books that get checked out all the time and that are never in the library no matter how many copies you get, because they're always checked out because everyone wants to read them. So I adjusted some things. I added series on the bottom because usually students, once they read the first one and they want the second one, they will duck, they'll bend their knees, they'll move a little bit more to get that little bit of work to get to the second book, or third, or fourth, or fifth, or sixth, or seventh, depending on what series they're working on. I also added this potentially controversial Stormlight Archive reading order. Depends on who you're talking to and where you get your recommendation from, but this may not always be what students read them in. There is some slight controversy in reading order for books, but I did add these graphics that sit next to the book so that not only do the students know what's next, me and my aides know what's next in that book series because they don't always stay in the right order. Teenagers, right? So rather than having students check out the same standard few books, we like to display all of our new books in one section. And so we made this beautiful display of new books, and we have them all out with their covers facing the front to draw as much attention to them as possible. We also added these Book Talk bookmarks. And that's so that before a student even touches a book, before they even pick it up to open it up and read the book flap, or to turn it over and read the back of the book, they can get a quick little snippet of what is this book about. Is it a modern day retelling of Cinderella? Is it a combination of this other book that they liked and this other one, or this, it's like the movie version or the book version of this? And so these Book Talk bookmarks, without even picking up a book, draw students in, and they can read, 2-3 lines about a book and be like, that's interesting. Maybe I'll pick this up and read more about it. So we try to draw students in from visuals and then kind of quick text. 65% of students are visual learners, and social media is overwhelmed with visual pictures, visual stimulation. So it's important that we also tie into that with our libraries. So use those book covers. You guys paid a bucket load for those books. So you might as well use that as free decor for your library. If it's not free, then at least already paid for. So we need to keep up with the social or visual aspects of what our students are used to when they're on their phones. We want to get them maybe off their phones or at least into a reading app, and we can do that with book covers. Excuse me. After the UELMA 2021 conference, it was a virtual conference that year. I attended or watched the session, Doing a Lot with a Little, Make a Welcoming Library. And it was by some teachers, some librarians in the Alpine School District. Heather Price is my library idol, in case you don't have one. She's a great one. She's who I want to be and what I want my library to look like when I grow up. So I watched this session, and it was amazing. And I got really inspired to do something, anything, because my library was from, I'm the second librarian at my school. We're a newer build, and it was beige. The walls were white, the shelves were brown, the carpet started out gray, brown, and then it's been faded a lot. And it was just a lot of beige, and it was a lot of boring. So I got inspired. And so I scoured the internet, and I found some pictures of horses, because our school mascot is the Chargers, which is a horse. In case you didn't know, it's a horse. So I looked for different horses, and what did I want? Did I want a picture? Did I want something metal? I looked on the internet for probably more than I should have. It took months before I actually made a decision. And then once I made my decision, I needed to get it approved. And this was before Canva, where I could have removed the background and added things, and could have done a lot of different things fancier with technology. So instead, I just take a picture and use my finger on my phone to draw my concept. And my principal was like, "Why do you want emus?" Those are horses. So they've been called emus, flamingos, ostriches, anything but horses. And I'm like, it fits. No one really knows what Chargers are, so it's okay. So once I got my concept approved, not only by my principal, but our district facilities department, that was really fun forwarding that to them. This is what it ended up looking like in the end. So we have these beautiful metal horses that are off the wall just a little bit, including powder coating to match our school blue. All right. That same presentation inspired these folded books. So it has, again, the Chargers, the horses, on either side, and then our school's initials, CCHS. In the middle, we have a mosaic art piece that the art department gave to us. It was done the first year the school opened by one of the drawing classes. And so the class each had a picture that, they took a photo, drew it into little pieces, and each student drew their own square. And so we have that framed in the library to commemorate the dome of the building, which is significant to the history of Draper. So visual stimuli is very important to us as we develop and as we learn, and it helps with our cognitive processes. So when we encounter visually pleasing environments, such as libraries, we're more likely to engage in that space and be receptive to information. And where else do we learn information? The library. That's the center of learning at the school. Also, this is where I work. This is where I spend most of my waking time in the day. I want it to look nice. So for, selfish and selfless reasons, I want my library to be visually appealing. So how do I have the time to make all these things and do all this? Canva. Also, I delegate. So I use templates all the time. I even love the top left template. That's a book tracker where students can write on the spines and color it in. I use Canva for just about everything, including this presentation. So there's been several sessions this conference about how to use Canva in the library, in your classroom, how to make posters and things like that. Here I used Canva to make this graphic for our next book club that we had. And as I was making it, I got the inspiration with the arrows from social media, and I started using this really pretty font. And I really liked how pretty it was, because it was pretty. I like things pretty. So I kept looking at it and just was like, this just doesn't, like some of these words look weird. I don't always like how certain things are spaced or how they have little flourishes, things like that. So I kind of looked at it some more, and then I decided it's too much. Let's simplify. And so the graphic on the right made this image a lot more easy to read and a lot less confusing. And so as students are walking by, they can get an idea of what the book is about. Also, my last name is Jones, starts with a J. My daughter's name starts with a Z. And I'm very hyper aware of fonts that make Z's and J's and T's and I's look weird. So I'm very sensitive to fonts in that way. Also in the library, we have a couple different posters. One is the library this way, cafeteria this way. I know you guys are all well aware of the never-ending, not fight, but battle, challenge, struggle, issue of keeping food out of the library. And so we like to change our signs frequently to keep them kind of new and fresh, and so they don't get ignored by students. We want them to be aware that, hey, no food in the library. And then the next month, oh, hey, still no food in the library. It's, what, March now? There's still no food in the library. And then up on the walls of the main wall in the library, we have our book club book of the month highlighted with a little picture frame, and that moves from month to month. We also have reading challenges. That's one of our really popular attractions in the library, and we have a little graphic that moves from month to month. Most of our collection of posters are in these, is in this binder, and that's where we have read-alikes. We have a lot of students who love A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, so we have a list of books that are similar to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder that aren't that exact book. And then I listed where I got those. A lot of these you're able to print directly from visualbooklist.com. I also added a link to the catalog. I do have an iPad with the book covers added so that students can access them if they need to, or they can scan their own QR code throughout the shelves. We also included labels. We wanted to make sure that if we needed to direct students to the section in the library, that they knew where they were going, so we could direct them like across the room, like find aisle 3, like we're at the grocery store. I also purchased new furniture to increase seating. I also have a very awkward corner in the back where I can't see what's going on. I don't want anyone making babies in my library, so we got taller tables so we can see easier what's happening in that back corner, and added colorful chairs. Another thing we did was to add student art in the library. Some of them are bolted onto the wall. Others are on a display shelf that they're housed in the library, but the art department, they will come in every month or 2 or 3 months. These have been on there for quite a while. But they manage it. They're the ones that put new art on, take the old art off, and it's something that I don't have to manage, but it also kind of brings student creation into the library, and I love it. I also added plants. They're great. The students ask all the time, are these real? Like, can I touch it? Is it okay? And they are real. And so students love having life in the library. We also removed obstacles. Apparently doors are obstacles. During COVID, we opened the doors to the library because we wanted to reduce high-touch surfaces. And we loved having students see that we're open by having our doors open, and they come into the library whenever the doors are open, as long as they have a hall pass. So our libraries say a lot without actually saying a word. So what does your library visually communicate to your community? Thank you.